Morning of the Kiddush. May it indeed be a good Kiddush for all Jews everywhere. May the safe return of everyone and the success of everyone miraculously and immediately. Okay, we're coming to the home stretch of Siman Reish Ayin Aleph, chapter 271. The laws of Kiddush are dominantly built on our Gemara and Psachim. And God willing, we will return to the Gemara and Psachim as we continue the process of the Seder night. We started from the afternoon before, not eating, so that you have an appetite for the Seder, which got into comparing that to a regular Friday night, which got into the Kiddush of Friday night, especially if someone wants to make Kiddush early before Shabbat starts and all of that. And that took us down to what Kiddush is all about. Can get to Havdalah, because Havdalah and Kiddush are linked. The laws of Koshel Bracha, the laws of having a cup over which a blessing is recited. And that's where we are now, as we come to full circle.
That was a big tangent. It's like the Jews wandering in the desert for 40 years.
Maybe that's where it all started.
Maybe.
It's been engraved in the beginning of our history to wander from one thing to the next.
How many months were we on this? 2 months? 3 months?
I don't know. Okay. Well, we had tissue in the middle, so that took out a chunk, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So, Chav Zayin. We're discussing specifically the laws of a form of interruption made between the blessing and drinking of the wine. Right? So we had last time was if a person made, right, a Kiddush is comprised of two blessings primarily, one over the cup of wine, Lagofen, and one pronouncing the sanctity of Shabbos. Right, the second blessing. Yamashish is a preamble. Right? But the two brachas are Gofen and the blessing of Kiddush itself. So the last halacha we had was a person recited both of those brachas, but then after making the two blessings, there was an interruption between that and the drinking. And halacha ruled that the blessing of Kiddush has been fulfilled because you held a cup of wine while you declare the sanctity of Shabbos. That's good. But the Hagafan is problematic because you didn't drink after you made a bracha thanking Hashem for wine. And thus we learned you have to repeat the Hagafan and drink it again. And not drink it again, and then drink it. But you don't have to repeat the blessing of Kiddush. That's where we left off. Yeah? That was Chavav. Okay, Chav Zayin. Other forms of interruption that might occur between the recitation of Kiddush and the drinking. Likewise, similarly, in Nishbach Kois Kiddush Alav, if the cup of wine over which he recited the Kiddush now spilled before he had a chance to drink. So again, the bracha of Kiddush, no problem. He held a cup of wine while he recited and declared the sanctity of Shabbos, not a problem. The Hagafen is a problem because he held a cup, he said Hagafen, didn't drink. So what do we do? Another cup should be brought to him, another cup of wine. What bracha should he make now? Anyone? Using the logic we've discussed. So I made Kiddush over this cup of wine, the cup spilled, now I got to fill up this cup again. What bracha should I make before I drink? Or any?
First was done in vain.
There's two brachas I made before. Which bracha was in vain?
The wine.
The Hagafen. The bracha of Kiddush was no problem, right? Because the brachas declaring the sanctity of Shabbos I did while holding a cup of wine, no problem. The problem is that I made a bracha thanking God for wine and didn't drink. So fill up another cup, and then make Hagafen without repeating the Kiddush. Yeah? Just Hagafen part. But this is all if he had no intention of drinking more wine after Kiddush. Which means when he made Hagafen, his intention was exclusively on the cup of wine he's holding. If that's the case, when they bring him another cup, he has to make another Hagafen. Right? But if, when he made Kiddush, his intention was to keep on drinking wine throughout the meal, which means his Hagafen wasn't exclusively over the cup of wine. It was actually over any wine. So when they bring him a second cup of wine, do you have to make a new Hagafen now? No. So if, right, let's look at footnote 147. Where is that? I want to take some time here. Here. Looking for what footnote 147. If he had the intent to drink wine throughout the meal, right? So when he recited the Kiddush, his intention was to keep on drinking. Yeah?
Yeah.
So then the wine brought to him is considered as covered by the first blessing, and there's no need to recite the Bari Priyagofen again. Following the logic? Following the logic or no?
We're not still on the case of the one who spilled the wine.
Yes, spill the wine.
Yeah.
So again, I made Kiddush. Again, 2 brachas in Kiddush, Hagafen, and declaring the sanctity of Shabbos. Now the wine spilled. Declaring the sanctity of Shabbos is not in question because I recited it properly as I held the cup of wine, no problem. Good. The problem is I said Hagafen and didn't drink wine because it spilled. Good, so you got to refill the cup and now I drink it. Now, do I need to make Hagafen on that new cup of wine?
No,
Well, it depends.
no.
If when I made Hagafen the first time I intended to drink more wine throughout the meal, then any wine that comes to me afterwards was covered by my first Hagafen. And therefore, no need to make a new bracha when that new wine comes to me, just like I don't make another Hagafen when I have a second, third, fourth glass.
You need to drink it.
I just need to drink it. But if when I made Kiddush, my intention was I'm drinking 1 cup, that's it. I don't want to drink more. Now when the other cup of wine comes, I got to make a new Hagafen. But no new Kiddush, because that was certainly covered when I held the first cup of wine. Clear?
So this second cup that comes is not filling the first cup.
He's filling the first cup. That's what I mean, second cup. I don't mean another cup. Just refilling my cup.
Okay, but that requires.
It's just new wine.
It's just an accident.
If you didn't have intent.
The intent was fully there. It's just an
But
accident.
again, when I made Hagafen the first time, which wine was I intending to drink?
Just that one.
Just that wine. If it's just that, then when new wine fills up, I got to make another Hagafen. But if when I made Hagafen the first time in my Kiddush, my intention was to drink wine throughout the meal, then any wine that comes to me does not need a new Hagafen.
Bring the second cup, he drinks it without a bottle.
That's it.
Right.
Bring second cup means refill my
Yeah,
cup
yeah,
that just
yeah,
spilled.
understood.
Clear?
Does this apply to all the other members of the table? Because if they're having another cup of wine at the meal, if they had the intent to drink during Kiddush more wine, so they drink wine.
Presumably, yeah. Okay, so it continues. The answer, lots of the Kaddish. There's no reason to go repeat the Kiddush over again because his Kiddush was done properly. He held a cup of wine and made a Kiddush, even though it's spilled. He didn't get to drink it. And he has to drink another cup of wine, either with Hagafen or without Hagafen, depending on his intent, when he made the first Hagafen. Yeah, with me? Mm-hmm. But there's no reason to recite again the Kiddush. Unless there was such a big interruption between his drinking and his Kiddush that he has to repeat the Kiddush again, or if he left the room in the middle, as we discussed in the previous class. Okay.
But for most people who do Kiddush every Friday night, when you drink the first cup, you make the Bari Priyagofen, your intent is
to keep on drinking.
We know that this is.
Yeah, so again, it depends where and when and what. Thank God today we have abundance of wine and everybody likes to enjoy wine throughout their meal. Mm-hmm. So the default intention is that you're drinking more wine throughout your meal. Mm-hmm. But I imagine in the old day where maybe wine was more scarce, depending on where and what. Again, depends on where and what. In way old time, actually wine was probably more available than water. So their default intent would have been to drink more wine. But in other areas and other times where wine may have been, let's say if you're deep in Eastern Europe, wine is not exactly in abundance there because it's not really, the ground is not really fertile for grape, but water's in abundance there because you got lots of snow. Right? In the Middle Eastern countries in the old day, actually wine was more common than water. Water was more scarce. Where are you getting water from? There's only how many rivers are there? Right? And how much can you take from the rivers? But wine, there's grapes growing everywhere, or oil, whatever, wine and oil, plenty. So they may have had more wine. But if you go elsewhere where they have less wine, then maybe he had only 3 cups available to him. He's keeping 1 for Kiddush tonight, 1 for Kiddush tomorrow, 1 for Havdalah, and he's drinking 1 cup, and that's it. And in that case, you have to make a new Hagafen when he gets the second cup of wine. Or a guy's like, okay, I had too much to drink this week. I'm only drinking 1 cup tonight. So, 1,001 reasons why someone would say, I'm only drinking 1 cup for Kiddush.
There's many people who are not particularly fond of wine.
Yeah. Whose default is, I'm only doing it because of Kiddush, and when I'm done Kiddush, I'm not drinking anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
You and I are a little different. They like to enjoy the wine throughout the meal. Baruch
In
Hashem.
those days, they only took a drop of wine. But they don't, if this is a
And diluted it.
wine, they only took this. The rest
And
is
yeah,
water.
we discussed that in halacha, right? They
Because
dilute it
most
because
of
it's
the
too strong.
water
Yeah.
is
Now our wine's already diluted.
Yeah, ours is
Already diluted.
otherwise never drink it.
Okay, continuing. Now, the Im Kiddush, second paragraph of 27. The Im Kiddush b'shachris. If he recited the morning Kiddush, that is to say the daytime Kiddush after Musaf, which we would be in the afternoon already, but it's the daytime Kiddush, it's the morning Kiddush. And he did so al sheikhar. He did so on beer. Right? Even though we learned that the primary way to do it is on wine, but we did give leniency under certain circumstances. If the person likes the beer better than the wine, if the wine's not available for whatever reason, he did it on beer.
See, simple story.
Yeah, we discussed that. And now his cup spilled before he drank the beer. Now remember, in the morning Kiddush, there is only one bracha. There's only one bracha. There's lots we say, but only one bracha, which is the bracha over the actual cup. So really the only bracha he made is shahakal here.
That's the one that's important.
That's the one that's important. Now the beer is spilled. Yeah. Now, this is an interesting thing. Because as a rule, most people do not enjoy beer in the morning. First of all, he's assuming your Kiddush is in the morning. We in Chabad, we start davening at 9:30, and by the time we get to Kiddush, it's 12, 1 o'clock. In many other communities where they're davening Shachris way early in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, Kiddush is a late breakfast. It's a brunch. 10:30, 11 o'clock, they're already making Kiddush. By the time we sit down for Kiddush, they're already at their afternoon shlof.
Yeah.
In many communities. That's the way it is.
No.
But what?
Yeah,
What's a
nap.
So
Yiddish for a nap.
Lots of
Yeah. So in many communities, so primarily, especially in Ashkenaz lands where this is being written, it's morning time. And says the Alter Rebbe, as a rule, people don't like drinking beer in the morning. It's just sorry.
It's too heavy, maybe.
Yeah.
So now, if that's the case, then the default is he had no intention of drinking any more beer after that first Kiddush.
Right.
So when it's spilled, if they were to bring him a second one, he's definitely got to make hashahakal again because he was not expecting to drink more beer, right? The Alter Rebbe goes even farther and says, "Yesh lahakal can be lenient. She'ein tzarich lahavi kais achel levarach alav." He doesn't need to have a second cup brought to him at all to make another shakal because he really doesn't like it. So he made one shakal, doing it because Kiddush is there. Now we're gonna make him drink another shakal and to drink wine, beer that he's not even interested in drinking. Let's not do that.
That's a different reason altogether.
Okay, but what's the reason? What do you mean?
That's because
You have an obligation. Who cares if you don't like it or not? You have an obligation, right? And he's only saying this Shabbos day. Friday night, you don't like wine, too bad. Make it, get another cup, make another hagafen, and drink the wine. But Shabbos day will let you get away with not making that second bracha because you don't like it. Why? Because there are those that say, when he makes hamoitzi on his bread, that will be his kiddush. Because again, Shabbos day, only one bracha. Just the bracha over the drink, the wine or the beer upon which you are reciting the kiddush, even though there's already kiddush being recited. Now, you could make kiddush on bread.
Yeah, but
Would it be a different bracha?
yeah, but
Hamoitzi.
yeah, but
Now, is there a preamble?
Nope. All the same alkane, all the preambles make same preamble.
how could you use that argument? He's already decided already to make it on the beer.
But the beer is now
You
spilled.
can't retroactively go.
The
back.
beer is now
You
spilled
already
already.
done it.
But the beer is now spilled.
Okay.
I really don't like it.
Oh, okay. So you're saying
So I'm now going to make another hashakal. You anyways can make kiddush on the hamoitzi, and you're anyways going to make hamoitzi, and that way we minimize in vain brachas.
but you
rather than
also-
repeating
but
it.
You also have an issue of passing over the bread the first instance. And
You didn't pass over; it was covered, right?
Well, I mean,
The bread was covered when you made the first kiddush that was spilled.
it's-
Yeah, it's a leniency. Again, if you're not in the position where this bothers you so much, and it's 1 p.m. and you don't mind drinking another glass of wine,
You must make sure the Shabbat is only.
exactly.
Delayed.
Exactly.
I'm gonna take something out of content, but on a Saturday morning, when we say the bracha over the wine, we're standing over the, in the Kiddush club. The guy gets up and he's doing the bracha over the, let's say, vodka. And there's no other vodka left. And he makes the shahak oil. He goes to drink it and somebody bumps it and it all goes out.
Yeah.
If he fills it up with wine, does he have to say another one for
if he fills it with wine instead of vodka, he
After
definitely
the
has to make
vodka,
a
'cause there's
gafen
no
because the
vodka.
shakal he made would not cover that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But if they refilled it with vodka, it would be a question of did he intend to drink more after his first bracha? And if he did,
No.
or he intended on drinking just Kiddush, then he had to make the shakal.
So you're saying, if, let's say that's too much alcohol,
And he planned on
spilled
making
over
Kiddush,
the
and that was it. And then it spilled. Then when he refills it, he has to make a new shakal, right? Because he had no intent of drinking more than what was in this cup, which means the shakal was only on the cup. So if a new cup gets filled, he's got to make a new shakal. Yeah, clear.
Yeah.
Okay, look this. Aval bat in Kiddush al kois malay mayim. What happens if the guy makes Kiddush over a full cup of water? Kasavar shuyayin, thinking it was wine. Yeah, someone filled up the wine jug with water. Today we have like prepackaged bottles, but back in the old day, let's say the guy has a jug,
Yeah.
and whatever, his kid filled up the wine jug with water instead of putting wine in it from the vat downstairs. So what does he do now? So certainly here it's he's got to go back and make Kiddush again over wine. Right? Now, listen carefully what the Alter said. He's got to go back and make Kiddush again. Not just a question of making hagafen, but his Kiddush was invalid. In the first instance, when he was holding a cup of wine and the wine spilled, we said, oh, your Kiddush is fine. Why? Because while you made the Kiddush, you held a cup of wine. But in this case, you didn't hold a cup of wine when you made Kiddush. So your Kiddush is invalid. So now when the wine actually arrives, you actually have to do the whole Kiddush again also. Both brachas have to be repeated.
So if you spilled wine midway through reciting Kiddush,
If you what?
If you spilled your wine midway through reciting Kiddush,
Yeah,
then you have to.
that's a good question.
You have to fill it and restart Kiddush.
Good question. He doesn't address it directly.
But I would think along the same argument.
Yeah, good question. So if I'm making, that's a good question. So if I'm holding, you're talking about someone bumping into me. So I'm holding a cup of wine. I make Kiddush. Someone bumps into me midway. I think you're right. You'd have to recite
the same reason.
the same logic because you didn't hold a cup of wine while making Kiddush, right?
As the water case.
As the water case. Good. Yeah, that's a good point. Now, even if it's the kind of Kiddush that had it been wine, he wouldn't have to make a new hagafen, right? For example, when he held this cup of water, thinking it was wine, and he made hagafen, his intent was to drink more wine, which means my hagafen didn't just go on what I thought was wine here, but it went on all the wine on the table. So now maybe you could argue when I discover it's water and I refill it now with wine, I don't have to make hagafen because the first hagafen went here. Says the Alter Rebbe, no, you got to make a new hagafen. Why? Because this person, because the sages ordained that Kiddush has to be recited over a cup of wine, and he did it on a mayim, he did it on water, the whole thing is out. So if last of the Kaddish, he has to go back and recite the Kiddush again because he didn't have anything there.
So the bracha of a color?
By mistake. Shoigig.
Right.
Yeah, by mistake. So maybe you'd have to say Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Avoid as per. Okay. Now, here's something else interesting. Nonetheless, in Bishar Kiddush Lamayim, if at the time while we were reciting Kiddush on water, thinking it was wine, there was another cup of wine on the table that had a revius. Again, to this idea that the Kiddush extends to the other cups of wine, right? And we discussed this. Here's another indication. Yeah. So he's making Kiddush on what he thinks is wine. It's really water, but there's another cup on the table filled with wine. Even if it's not on the actual table, but it's on the bench near him, ready to drink. So you imagine the guy has like those bar carts. Yeah. And on the bar cart, he has a bunch of like glasses of wine filled and ready to give out to all his guests. So it's ready for drinking. And he makes Kiddush thinking it's wine, but really it's water. Now, obviously, his intent was, the default intent is on that wine too, because he's planning on taking a glass from there also. Yeah. So now, he does not need to make a new ber gafen when he takes that cup of wine, realizing it was water, because his mind was definitely on that wine, and the wine was open and ready. Not only that, he doesn't even have to make Kiddush again, because his Kiddush extended to all the wine that was open there. Yeah, let's look at footnote 153. Yeah, very nice, right? See, it backs up what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Let's look at footnote 153 to get more clarity. In Kuntras Acherin, that is the Alter Rebbe's notes, note 8, the Alter Rebbe focuses on his ruling in the main text that if there was a revius of wine before him on the table or on a bench near him, there's no need to repeat the Kiddush. The Alter Rebbe explains that though the wording of Magen Avraham, chapter 271, subsection 32, might lead one to dispute this conclusion, it is not certain that the Magen Avraham would not accept this decision. Moreover, he continues, even if Magen Avraham would not agree, the principle that leniency is advised when there's a doubt regarding the recitation of a blessing should be followed. So even if, no matter how you learn the earlier texts, he says, go lenient and the brachas extend. And therefore, you should drink right away from the wine that was ready. And here's the clincher. It's as if he recited Kiddush of that wine. Right? Well, let's see. Let's read these words. These words. Even though the rule is that one has to hold the cup of wine over which he recites the Kiddush, nonetheless, it does not withhold your fulfillment of your obligation if you did it post factum. Which means if I forgot to pick up my cup of wine for Kiddush and just recited the Kiddush without picking it up, don't repeat the Kiddush, you fulfilled your obligation. That will apply to the wine that's on the bench, especially in your case where you're actually holding it throughout the Kiddush as a listener to the Kiddush. Right? So I would argue further to that point, this is an ongoing discussion we're having here with Yeshua, that if the leader makes Kiddush, you hear me? The leader makes Kiddush, and everybody around the table has their own cup of wine.
Yes.
They hold it, and they're all saying, Amen. This is the family practice.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, the concern is that the leader might not be drinking the requisite amount. And someone has to drink the requisite amount, otherwise
Right.
the Kiddush is invalid.
Right.
Now, the question is, does that listener have to take now from the cup that I held here to drink that? That could cause family awkwardness. I walk over to the leader and say, hey, give me the rest of your cup, I want to finish it. Because the law is you have to drink a certain amount.
Right.
So considering what we're learning here, if the Kiddush extends to all the open cups that are on the table, and as a listener, it's as if I'm reciting the Kiddush with him because I'm listening and saying Amen. And when I hold a cup of wine in my hand while he's making Kiddush and I say Amen, and I drink this cup, fully fulfilled my obligation. As per all the logic we're laying out here.
But provided that you're making Kiddush and a revius.
Provided that I'm holding it, yeah, that's right. That I drink a revius actually. Or that I'm holding a revius and drink a cheekful.
Right.
And drink a cheekful.
Then you have to drink a revius?
That's right. You drink someone has to drink the cheekful, yeah. That's right.
One reciting Kiddush has the revius.
He has the revius in his cup anyway. Or you also have a revius in your cup. It doesn't matter. Exactly.
What about the little shot glasses that people pass around?
So, okay, let's get to that in footnote halacha number 29. Yeah. Sorry?
So beautiful, like, yeah, because of the fact that you're in the presence of people, together would want to fulfill the mitzvah, that you're able to.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. There's a participation element.
Right.
We do this when we read the Megillah. The mitzvah is, when it comes to shofar, what's the bracha we say? Lishmoya kol shofar, to listen to the sound of the shofar. Okay, so I don't have to blow it, I have to listen.
Right.
When it comes to the bracha of Megillah, what's the bracha? Al mikra Megillah, on the recitation of the Megillah, not on the listening to the Megillah.
Oh, wow.
But I don't recite it.
You have to read it.
I don't recite it. But my listening, I'm reciting it. Shemeya ka'ina. A listener is as if he's participating in the recitation. Yeah.
So that's
Shemeya ka'ina. The listener is as if he's responding after. We're about to read this right now. Yeah.
So that's to say that if the person is sitting at the Shabbos table and everybody's got a list or something in there,
That's right.
and he does the bracha and he starts drinking and he chokes on it. He swallows.
So he doesn't drink the whole amount.
He didn't drink the whole amount.
Someone else has to.
Someone else has to get
Correct.
up
Really?
That's right. Because someone has to, just we looked before, someone has to drink the malay of the
and chokes
cheekful.
on it, or
In the case of Yeshua, he's doing.
a lot of times you swallow it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Done the wrong way.
And you can't drink now for the next little 5-6
That's
minutes,
right.
right?
That's right.
So someone else got to drink it. That's all.
We prove that you are company with all.
That's right. It's halacha. This idea that all Jews are responsible for one another is actually in halacha. Okay. Chavtes. 2 more halachas, and tomorrow we'll get back to the Gemara. Ein sorach lishbach mekayis mekadosh lekayis yayin shlefnei mesudim hayotzim deichavasim b'shmiya. There's no need to pour from the cup of wine of the one who recites the Kiddush to all those present who are fulfilling their obligation by listening to Kiddush.
Mhm.
They don't need that. And he says, into the cups of wine that they have, meaning they already have cups of wine. Yeah.
Right.
So there's no reason for
So I don't
me.
have to have them poured into mine.
Exactly. Ellen can pugumin, unless your wine was pugum.
Right.
Someone drank from it earlier, and by adding wine from my cup before I drink, then I'm making your cup not pugum anymore.
I do have.
So if you're okay, well, you could do that also. Why not? Exactly. That's right. If everybody else's cup was pugum, then I have to pour from my cup into everybody else before I drink
Right.
to make sure that their cups aren't pugum. So that everybody drinks from a cup that isn't pugum. That would be the optimum way to do it. So, which is important. That I think you mentioned this before when we learned about the proper way to share the Kiddush cup with your wife. Right? I make Kiddush. I shouldn't drink and then give to my wife.
No.
No, I give to my wife and then drink.
What?
Because if I do so, now I'm giving her pugum wine.
Yeah.
So it's fine. She fulfilled her obligation because she doesn't need to drink anything to fulfill her obligation. As we just finished learning, you don't have to drink anything at all. Just by listening is good enough. But if I want to make her have a cup of wine and giving her a cup of wine after I drink is also a good thing because she's still drinking from the cup of which the bracha was recited. So it's koshel bracha she's getting.
Mhm.
Like, for example, when actually that's different. Because the Rebbe would give koshel bracha after he made Abdallah. The Rebbe would make Abdallah, drink from his cup, and then he would give to everybody.
Mm.
But when he would do, before he would do so, his cup would be refilled.
Mm.
So it's no longer pugum.
From a pitcher to his cup
And then that's right. That way his cup is not pugum. But I'm not doing that. So that's another option. I make Kiddush, pour a little bit from the bottle back into the cup, and then share with everybody.
Mm.
But the better way to do it is we're learning here, before I drink, pour to my wife, and that way she's getting from the cup of the blessing without it being pugum.
Why is it after you drank from it, your wine is pugum? Because it has your germs or what?
It's not fresh.
Okay.
It's no longer fresh. We
Drank.
learned about the laws of pugum in the past, yeah?
I know
Right.
I learned this, but
Mm.
when is the requirement of having the revius?
So again,
When is it required to have the revius? I know during Kiddush.
the revius have to be
If
present while you're
you
making
pour it
Kiddush.
out to everybody, and then before you drink
Oh.
yours, is there need to be a revius?
Very good point. I have to drink from a cup that has a revius in it. So when I pour out, that's a good point. Yes, thank you. When I pour out the cup of wine before I drink to give to my wife some, I have to make sure there's at least a revius left in my cup, which is very little. It's like 3.5 ounces. It's not much, but there have to be a revius left behind. Yes, good point. That's right. So you got to be careful. People will have those like spouts, which like fill up a bunch of different shot glasses,
Yeah.
and you're going to pour before you drink because you don't want it to be pugum. Yeah, make sure you leave behind in your cup at least a revius
Right.
in there.
So if you have a lot of people around, you pour a little bit to each one, and then you haven't got much for yourself.
Yeah.
You could re-pour.
So maybe the better no, you shouldn't do that. So maybe the better thing to do would be there is to drink from your cup, refill it so it's not pugum, and then give everybody. Maybe that would be if you have a lot of people and if you give everybody, you're not going to have enough revius left. Drink first and then refill your cup a bit, and that way it's not pugum and you can give everybody. That would be better.
But it's not best to pre-pour everyone.
So that's another option to pre-pour,
Right. Okay.
right?
But
So
some
that's what I said
people
before.
have
That's what I said before. I don't need to give everybody from my cup if they have wine already and it's not pugum.
Right.
That's what you just said in Halacha 29.
Right.
That if they have wine and it's not pugum, there's no reason for me to pour any more in their cup.
And they don't need to be holding it either.
Not necessarily. Although we said before, it's best to have the whole cup.
Right.
But if you're drinking and you give most of it away, you drank it, and you start giving it to people.
So you drank a cheekful while the cup was still full.
Yeah, and then you fill it up again.
So it's not pugum. You put a little bit more back, it's not pugum. Now you can give everything away, no problem.
And if you drink first, then they have it.
Right. So if I drink first, then I take from the bottle, pour a little bit back into my cup, so it's no longer pugum because I refilled it.
But they have it.
No, because I'm giving to them only after I refill my cup.
No, but if you give it, let's say you take it
Yeah.
and you
I
drink
drink,
it,
yeah.
and then somebody says, "Well, I didn't have any."
Yeah.
So he takes it and you.
Okay. So before I do that, before I give it to the other person, pour a little pour a little wine into my cup. That way it's not pugum, and then I can give it to them.
But we learned way back though that you can't pour from the bottle. You should have
That's
a
what I thought.
regular cup full on the table.
That's the better case scenario. That's the better case scenario. But if you pour from the bottle, it's also fine.
Okay, that's right. I lost.
That's right. So if after I drink, I'm sharing with others, I should pour more wine into my cup first, and that way make it no pugum anymore. Sorry?
You're saying kotzelial is like a full cup always on the table.
Yeah. There's other scenarios like that where you have a cup there. Okay. Like by the wedding, right? You have 2 cups sometimes. Okay. Lamed. Final halacha. Lo yitimu ha-mesugim koidim sheyitim makadesh im hem nizkukim l'kaisai. the listeners should not drink their wine that's in their cup before the one reciting the Kiddush drinks, if they need his cup. That he pours into their cups that are empty, or if they're pugum. Okay, so in other words, like this: if let's say their cups are empty, right? So I poured into my wife, I gave her a little bit, so it's not pugum, and then I drink. So my wife shouldn't drink until I drink, because she's taking from my cup, and therefore I should drink first, and then she'll take. But if they have wine in their cups, which isn't pugum because they took fresh wine from the bottle, they can drink even before the one reciting the Kiddush drinks.
Really?
Yeah, so long as they heard him make the bracha and say amen. So let's say he makes Kiddush, and it takes him a couple of seconds for him to put his cup down, sit down, and drink. They can drink in the meantime, because they heard the brachas. They said amen. They have a fresh cup of wine in their cup, which is not pugum. The Kiddush is extended to their cups, as we learned. They can drink their wine. That's it.
That's proof too that
Exactly.
you can do that.
That's right. So he doesn't say the halacha directly, but it's very, very, very much implicit. That's right.
Direction.
That's right. But she's Barbasim Kufzadik, as explained was explained in chapter 290. So I guess we can look that up if you want to see further. All right, Jidden. So this concludes halachas of Kiddush. I mean, there's more halachas to Kiddush, but this is the main body of the text. And B'ezrat Hashem, tomorrow we're going back to our Gemara, and we go back to the Seder night.
Great. Have a siyum now.
Yeah, Simon on Siman Reish Ayin Aleph, Siman chapter 271 of Kiddush.
Our intention should always be to include everybody.
Amen.
All the blessings we make.
Yeah, it should be good Yeshuas for everyone. A wonderful day, and a good Chodesh.